All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about those early warning signs. The ones that hint a relationship might not go the distance. It can be so hard to see things clearly in that initial love bubble, so we're going to break down the subtle red flags that often pop up from the very beginning.
And wow, isn't that the truth? That initial spark, the honeymoon phase, it's just this incredible electric feeling, right? Everything seems brand new and perfect, and it just feels like nothing could possibly go wrong.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there? That's the catch. Those intense feelings can act like a filter. It's like we're wearing these emotionally tinted glasses, and they're so powerful they can blind us to things we'd normally spot as a problem in a second. So here's something that's kind of wild when you think about it. Those big relationship ending problems that seem to blow up down the road, they're almost always there from the start, just smaller. Look, a little bit of conflict is totally normal. It can even be a good thing. But it's the how often and how bad it gets that can be a huge flashing red sign. Okay, so let's dig into our first set of signs. These all have to do with having a shaky foundation. Basically, we're asking, is there anything real holding you two together besides that initial chemistry? Is the core connection actually strong? So, what does a weak foundation look like? Well, it could be a few things. Maybe the whole relationship is just about physical attraction. Or maybe you just can't stand their friends. A big one is a lack of trust, or seeing them be just plain mean to other people. And sometimes it's as simple as the timing being all wrong. I love this straw house idea because it really nails that first point. A relationship that's only about romance, it's like building a house out of straw. Sure, it might look okay on a sunny day, but the second a little wind blows, the whole thing can just fall apart. You need more to hold it together. Shared interests, goals, the solid stuff. You know that old saying, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are? There's so much truth to that. And look, it's totally cool to have your own separate friends, of course. But if you genuinely can't stand their entire group of friends, that's a sign. Because our friends say a lot about our values, right? It might mean there's a core part of your partner you don't really click with. And this next one, it's a big one. It's an absolute non-negotiable. Trust. It's the bedrock, the foundation of everything. Without trust, you can't have real closeness. You can't be honest. You can't be vulnerable. A relationship without trust is just stuck. It's going nowhere. All right, let's shift gears to our next group of signs. This one is different, but honestly, it's just as dangerous. We're talking about losing your identity, when the relationship starts to chip away at who you are, your sense of self, and your self-respect. So before we even get into the signs, I want you to ask yourself a quick question. Just be honest with yourself for a second. In your relationship, do your opinions feel heard, or are they constantly just pushed aside? Let that sink in for a moment. The thing is, losing yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's sneaky. It might start with something that seems nice, like spending all your time together. But then your own friends and hobbies start to fade away. And slowly, your sense of self erodes until you're totally dependent on them for your happiness. That whole "you are my whole world" thing sounds great in a movie, but in reality, it's not healthy. Here's a good way to think about it. You know how on a first date, you're on your best behavior? It's like you're wearing your first impression suit. That's normal, but you can't live in that suit. If you're months in and you still feel like you have to walk on eggshells, filter everything you say, and hide your weird, quirky self, that's a huge red flag. It means you can't actually be you. So what's the bottom line here? If you're with someone who is always trying to fix or change these core parts of your personality, they just don't accept the real you. And if you stay, you're basically sacrificing all the amazing things that make you you for someone who can't even see your worth. Okay, this brings us to our last and super important theme, communication breakdown. And listen, this isn't just about fighting more. It's about how you fight. It's about how you talk about your needs. When talking things out actually makes things worse, you've got a serious problem. And we really need to get this straight. Fighting isn't always a bad thing. Seriously, a healthy argument every now and then can clear the air and actually bring you closer. But if it's constant, if it's explosive, if it just leaves you feeling completely drained, that's not constructive. That's just destructive. It sucks all the life out of the relationship. And you can see the difference right here. A healthy response, you're on the same team, trying to solve the problem together, you talk openly. An unhealthy response? Oof. It's all passive aggression, sarcasm, that poor me victim act, or those little digs disguised as compliments. None of that solves a single thing. It just builds up this wall of resentment.
So let's just quickly recap the big communication red flags. Just ask yourself these questions. 1. Does it feel like you're doing all the work? 2. Does every real conversation just blow up into a fight? 3. Are hurtful jokes and backhanded compliments a regular thing? And 4. Do you avoid real issues by just being sarcastic? If you're nodding along, that's a big deal.
Okay, we have covered a lot. So what's the big takeaway from all this? What do all these signs, the shaky foundation, losing yourself, the bad communication, what do they all have in common? It all comes back to one thing: knowing your own worth.
So, just to put it all in a nutshell for you, we talked about 3 big areas. The shaky foundation, that's all about a lack of real compatibility. Losing your identity, that's about losing yourself and losing respect. And communication breakdown, that's when you just can't solve problems together. And here's really the heart of it all. It is so easy to settle, isn't it? We settle because we're scared to be alone, or we just keep hoping they'll change. But you have to remember, your time is precious, and you 100% deserve to be with someone who gets you, who values you, and who treats you right. So I'm going to leave you with one last question to really think about. Look, no relationship is ever going to be perfect. We know that. But everyone has deal breakers. So what's yours? What is the one thing that, for you, is completely non-negotiable? Because figuring that out, well, that's how you start building something that can actually last.